Chapter 52 Family, Public Enemy Number 1. Karasor, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. In your last letter, you mention family pressure. Horrid word, family. Its very etymology accuses it of servility and stagnation. Latin, famulus, a servant. Oscan, famat, he dwells. Think what horrid images it evokes from the mind. Not only Victorian, wherever the family has been strong, it has always been an engine of tyranny. Weak members or weak neighbors, it is the mob spirit crushing genius, or overwhelming opposition by brute arithmetic. Of course, one must be of good family to do anything much that is worth doing. But what is one to say when the question of the great work is posed? Bless you. The whole strength of the family is based on the fact that it cares for the family only. Therefore, its magical formula, thus concentrated, is of necessity hostile to so exclusively individual an aim as initiation. Its sentiments are reciprocated. In every magical or similar system, it is invariably the first condition which the aspirant must fulfill. He must once and for all and forever put his family outside his magical circle. Even the Gospels insist clearly and weightily on this. Christ himself, whoever is meant by this name in this passage, callously disowns his mother and his brethren. Luke chapter 8, verse 19. And he repeatedly makes discipleship contingent on the total renunciation of all family ties. He would not even allow a man to attend his father's funeral. Is the magical tradition less rigid? Not on your life. The one serious grimoire of the Middle Ages is the Book of Sacred Magic of Abrimlin the Mage. He makes no bones about it. He even condescends to point out the family as the most serious of all the obstacles to the performance of the operation, and he gives the correct psychological reasons why this should be so. You said it yourself. Family pressure was your pungent and pertinent expression. Just so. I think that family should include any body of persons with common interests which they expect or wish you to share. One's old school or university, the regiment, the golf club, the business, the party, the country. Any of these may dislike very much your absorption in affairs alien to their own. But the family is the classic type because its pull is so potent and persistent. It began when you gave your first yell. Your personality is deliberately wrenched and distorted to the family code. And their zoology is so inadequate that they always feel sure that their ugly duckling is a black sheep. Even for their fool, they find a use. He can be invaluable in the church or the army, where docile incompetence is the sure key to advancement. Curse them. They are always in the way. In the Brahmin caste, the aspirant to yoga makes it a rule to fulfill his duties to the family and the state. Once those jobs are definitely done, he cuts the painter and becomes sannyasi. Many a Maharaja, to say nothing of less responsible people, plan their lives from their earliest days of wearing the sacred cord as brahmachari. With these ambitions carefully mapped out, and when the right moment comes for him to disappear into the jungle, the rest is silence. A sound scheme, that is, provided that one has full confidence in the general theory. But we Caucasians happen not to believe in the Vedas, at least not in the dyed in the wool sense which comes natural to the budding Brahmin. As to our own, why our own scriptures? No intelligent person takes them seriously anymore. Some folk whittle away merrily and fashion a savior in their own images. Others strain the text and concoct a symbolic interpretation which is more or less satisfying, as can be done with any bunch of legends. But such devices leave us without accepted authority. And without that, nobody is going to gamble away his life. Thus, the path for men of spiritual integrity begins with absolute skepticism. Our methods must be exclusively inductive. Gamble away this life? Did I say? Indeed, I did. If there is any truth at all in anything, or even any meaning in life, in nature herself, then there is one thing only paramount to find out who one is, what is one's necessary way. The alternative to the great work is the hodgepodge of dispersion, fatuity, or disconnected nonsense. To the performance of this work, the nearest obstacle and the most obvious is the family. Its presumption is manifest, in that it expects everybody to give it first priority. In the Russian troubles following the October Revolution, General Denikin, who was trying to put Humpty Dumpty back on the wall, captured the aged parents of Leon Trotsky in command of the enemy and generously telegraphed him to withdraw his troops to certain position, otherwise the old people would be shot. Trotsky replied, "Shoot." The point of this story is that I hope it will answer your next question. You are so very clear and firm about the family. Then why don't you insist on all your pupils starting with a domestic holocaust? Why? Ask me something harder. Look, chalk has every possible element of danger from the standpoint of the cragsman. All the more glory to him who can master it. It is an essential part of the Rosicrucian system that the adept should wear the costume of the country in which he is traveling. I take this in the widest sense. By that word, country, I understand this planet and this social status to which it has pleased God to call me. The brethren of the Rose and Cross deprecated monastic life or hermit life. Perhaps they thought such expedients cowardly, or at least as a confession of weakness. I agree. One ought to be able to live the normal life of a member of one's class, to all external seeming, at least sufficiently so as not to appear unduly eccentric. Perhaps the quote, "Let my servants be few and secret," bears some such implication. But the condition of allowing such apparent laxity is this, that one should be as swift and terse as Trotsky in any similar situation. If one's family were reasonable human beings, but they never are, she sighed, one could perhaps do wisest by explaining the situation. This work of mine, you don't understand it, no need that you should, is the only important part of my life. I mean to be scrupulously careful of your feelings, and I see no reason why my chosen career should damage our relations. There is only one thing to remember. If I ever get the faintest suspicion that you are opposing me, or condemning my plans, or interfering in any way, even with the best intentions, then, with a single blow, I sever our relations forever. Well, that's really very nice of you, Holy One, you might say. But you are not the only one to be considered. What about the masters? Do they ride us on the snaffle? Tradition says not so. This depends wholly on you. If you are a quite ordinary aspirant, and a few dozen incarnations one way or the other don't make such a difference, then they presumably won't bother you at all. In the course of centuries, karma will roll out the creases. But suppose you are of those specially chosen to execute some necessary operation in the course of their plans. Quite another pair of boots to tread that path. Don't imagine that you are not on it either, just because you happen to be in a mood of humility. A pawn may be more powerful than a rook in some positions. However, even if you are not on it, you can start today. That is one of the matters that depends exclusively on you. So you may content yourself with a simple, reasonable, and intelligible oath for the present, to devote all that you have and all that you are to the service of the order. The advantage of doing so is that the grand auditor of the city of the pyramids takes immediate notice. He brings your account, karma, up to date and starts you off with a cash ledger. That is, he arranges for your errors to be paid for on the spot instead of the customary credit system that goes on for centuries. The advantage of this is that you know what you are being punished for and learn your lesson at once. This process is, naturally, very painful at times. For one thing, you can't dope yourself with illusions about your being a grand souled, great hearted, misunderstood saint, martyr, and hero. And this I tell you from most bitter experience, the agony is sometimes all but unendurable. The masters, or lords of karma, whatever you like, I have to put all this in a silly romantic language if I am to get the meaning across at all. See the position with absolute accuracy. They know at once how so and so, which you made rather a point of offering, is really that which you feel you can bear to surrender. Believe me, it is a very thorough winnowing, with which he shall thoroughly purge his floor. When Vanis Iashi whirs in the mill, the deliberate swearing of such oaths and the passionate adherence to them is the surest method of approach to the masters. You force the gate of their temple. If not actually one of them, you are at least in their class. Only one reminder: it is worse than useless to take these oaths with any such ambition. One of the most precious privileges thus gained is the clean sweep that is made of all pretense. This too is painful beyond words at first. Until the process starts, you have not the faintest idea of how you have wrapped yourself in layers of lies. Now, go ahead. Love is the law. Love under will. Yours fraternally.